Hi, my friend. I'm so glad that you're joining us for another great episode of Casa De Confidence. And I have to tell you that one of the things that many high achieving women have in common is that sometimes we are doing the thing, achieving, we are going after our goals, we really have a clear vision, but sometimes we feel like, is this it? Am I doing it wrong or right? And it's not unique. However, when it's happening to us, we all think that it's just us. And our next guest today not only works with high achieving women, so she's familiar with this, but she went on her own personal journey of self discovery and has tons of insights that not only she used to evolve in her life and get to a place that she loves. However, she's also helping other high achieving women do the same and go after their dreams. And we're going to talk to Michelle Chung today about her journey to confidence. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I've been looking forward to the conversation because, as I got to know you in our initial conversation, but also in researching more about you, I know that there's so many different things that are so prevalent with women who are high achievers. And your journey again started in 2014, and that's when you started this transformative turn after the ending of your first marriage. And I resonated with that because my marriage ended around 2009, and I also went in this journey for myself, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit about where did you go after ending the marriage, and how did you go about this transformative journey?
Yeah, 100%. Everything that you've just said totally resonated because I feel like when you're a high achieving woman, you're almost like a little bit different, I'd say. And I don't want to sound like elitist or ego or anything like that, but I've always felt a little bit different, especially from my family, even from my friends growing up,
Yeah.
because I had really big goals and big dreams, and I knew there was something bigger for me in my life.
Hmm.
And I guess that was kind of the reason for my marriage ending around that period of time, 2014, because what had happened was I'd had a back injury because I was training martial arts. I'm a very
Hmm.
masculine woman and I loved martial arts. I got injured and from that I had sciatic pain and I couldn't walk. So
Mm.
my husband was very supportive. But at that time, I was kind of going through my own healing journey of like, I need to heal myself.
Hmm.
I'm not doing surgery. I really know I
Yeah.
can do this. And this is really part of, like I didn't know it at the time, but that was really the starting point of my journey to real confidence in myself and really owning my own life.
Hmm.
And it was due to that awakening that I studied kinesiology and mind body medicine,
Hmm.
discovered the healing powers, and there's something really greater out there. And that's when I had this wake up call that I couldn't be in that marriage anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone was saying, even my mom was saying, why are you doing this? Your marriage is fine. Like, you don't have to
Hmm.
leave. And it's true, it was great.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of courage. And to me, it wasn't courage or confidence. It was just like, I just have to follow this path that I've been given. And it was just a very clear message. And it just came to me and said, I can't be in this marriage anymore.
Hmm.
And it was really because our values didn't align anymore. I'd had started to grow a different way
Hmm.
because of this injury, this massive wake up call.
Yeah.
He was on his own path where he wanted stability, and he finally had that in his life: stability, safety, security. So we
Hmm.
had very different backgrounds. So,
Yeah.
for people to say that, people divorcing out of negative consequences, that's not always true. Our marriage is great and we could have stayed together, but I would have
Hmm.
never reached my potential. And
Yeah.
I feel like that knowing your potential gives me the confidence to keep moving forwards.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm so with you in this conversation because I think that very similarly, I had a similar path of sorts. And the one thing that I know that I couldn't explain it to anybody. There's
Yep.
more. There's more, and this is not it.
Yep.
I wonder, even though you were taking this big step and you knew that this was the right step, I would imagine that you felt feared. What was that like?
It was interesting because I guess it's like one of the scientific things that happen about people that you kind of forget the fears after you've been on your journey and you can't quite imagine what it was like back
Yeah.
then. But if I try to think back, I do remember it was such a clarity that staying in the marriage is not an option. And I guess the fear kind of hit after we'd separated and I was living on my own again. And the fear was more like getting out there, dating, and trying to meet somebody else. And it was
Right.
like, oh my gosh, these guys are not on my level. They're like
Oh,
just
yes.
right. I think
Yes.
that's the main thing with high achieving women. That's why I said we're a little bit different because we want a certain level. And
Yeah.
yeah, call us picky or call us high standards. And there's degrees of everything, right?
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
feel like we need to hold ourselves at a high standard, which elevates society as well, because we're really the drivers. Like, honestly, we are the drivers of society,
100%.
even though the patriarchy has, like, taken over for such a long time,
Yep.
right? But the fear was that I wouldn't find somebody on my level that could support me in my career, my journey, reaching my potential, and that's what I'm really all about, like helping people reach their potential, and I'm sure you are too, helping people with confidence, and you really need that confidence in order to move towards what you truly want, because if you didn't have
Yeah.
that, you just stay in fear. So
You would
it's a
stay
really
in
great point.
fear. Oh, so well put. I think that the thing, and I remember very vividly, and even with clients now, as they're trying to take that next step, that is incredibly intimidating. That the world is saying, "Why are you going against the grain?"
Yes.
They have to learn to listen to their own voice, that intuition, and know that I'm going to take the leap. I'm not sure where I'm going to land, but I'm going to land. And I need to land because I can't stay in this cliff. Did you feel the same way?
100%. That's a really beautiful visualization how you said that. Yeah, I think it's having that faith, and I've started to awaken more a spiritual journey with
Mhm.
myself. I'm not religious, although I grew up Catholic.
Same here.
Right? I think that gave me a bit of trauma. Growing up with a devout mother.
Mhm.
But that spiritual path was much more positive and awakening, and that faith, that leap of
Mhm.
faith, like jumping off the cliff, how you
Yeah.
beautifully visualized it. It's an
Well,
important part, but it's really good to know that you do have those wings within
mhm.
you, and then they can stretch
Mhm.
out at any
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And just having that faith and that confidence that universe has your back, God has your back,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you are meant for a path that is uniquely for you and no one else. And that was one of the things that, as a high achieving woman, you're like, am I supposed to be doing what everyone else is doing? Am I doing things wrong because I'm
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
ambitious and I want different things? And you start to question yourself and think, oh, if only I was a bit more like toned down, or I
Mhm.
wasn't so much as a lot of women may get, oh, you're too much. And even in my childhood, being gaslighted by my own family, like, why are you so sensitive and
Yeah.
why are you so ambitious? Just be a
I know.
girl.
I hear that a lot.
Oh my gosh.
We need to give permission to women to be sensitive, but also to be strong in that and not, when people tell you, "Well, why are you like that?" Not ask permission to be like that, but just embrace it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
In that
100%. And
embracing, I think that it helps us into whatever the next step may be.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like in your 40s, you have more of a attitude of like, oh, I don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
And you just start to really open up and be yourself. And really that
Hmm.
true path is that
Yeah.
self-discovery. And I
Hmm.
think of our generation, Generation X, Y, even some millennials, where
Yep.
we're going through this process of ungaslighting ourselves and
Hmm.
unburdening ourselves from the programming that subconscious belief system that we were implanted from our
Yeah.
parents and our family
Hmm.
because they thought that was what they were doing best, right? So, we don't blame them. But
Hmm.
this whole generation of us who are going like, oh, I don't want to teach my kids that
That's
same
right.
system, but I've got to break it through myself.
Hmm.
So I've got to be the one who's got to guide that, that leadership that
Yeah.
are called to be, especially mothers and women in society. We're nurturing and educating society all over
Hmm.
again.
Yeah. I think, again, we are really redefining, and this is what I'm hoping that when individuals listen to the conversation, that they realize, number one, that they're not alone. Number two, that there is an other side. And for as hard as it may be to picture it, you do come up in the other side. And if you have that dissatisfaction or that feeling that it's not, there's a puzzle piece missing, that you can pursue that. And that may be maybe building a business, or that may be maybe the puzzle pieces you've been in corporate your whole life and want to now be a mom, or vice versa. And I think that we need to have conversations where we see each other doing the thing so that it empowers us to do. Now, Michelle, you started traveling around the world. You became a digital nomad. And I love that. I would love to be traveling around the world, a digital nomad. That's kind of on my vision board. It's probably not for a while, but tell me more about that experience. What was it like?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it was just, again, following my intuition or following the next part of my journey
Hmm.
because after I got divorced and I was single for a couple of years and it was tough dating in Sydney.
Hmm.
I guess I was more attracted to the foreigners who came because I found their lives really interesting. I'm like, where are you from? What are you doing here? And I guess I had this view that the Aussie men were, a bit like they're all taken and
Hmm.
they're all gay, especially in Sydney, and or they're dead or they're like I don't
Right.
even know where they were. So it kind of just sparked a real passion in me for traveling, and
Hmm.
I saw something on Facebook, a travel group from the US that organized everything for you. It's called Remote Year, so highly
Ooh.
recommend it. It's for people who wanted to travel in a community,
Hmm.
especially like a business corporate community. Everyone has their jobs, their own businesses that you take on the road with you.
Hmm.
I was a designer in manufacturing back then, so I was pretty much told my boss or my client, hey, I'm just going to put everything on the cloud. And
Hmm.
back then it was a little bit more like, oh,
Like,
what
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 is
is
that?
this? Right, right. Is
Yeah.
that is that safe? And
Right.
but I just went off, and it was 6 months in Europe and 6 months in Latin America, and I was like, oh,
Very
I've
cool.
never lived in either of those countries, so that was a huge eye-opening experience. One of the reasons I did that was to find love, was
Hmm.
to find my soulmate, my perfect man. Didn't happen, but I did get
Okay.
so many amazing experiences, met a lot of incredible people. I guess I was kind of testing my theory about dating as well.
Hmm.
The idea that, it's a numbers game, being that masculine part of me is
Yeah.
like, you just got to get out
You just
there
got to
and
get out there, right?
right, right, and just go more dates, and one of them's going to be the right one. So that was my belief system, and that was,
Hmm.
the theory that I was testing, and it was fun. But after about 5 years, I was like, yeah, I think I've had enough. And after the 10th month of traveling,
Hmm.
because it's a city per month, it was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, I think I need some stability now. It's just a little bit. I just wanted something a
Yeah.
bit more like long term.
Yeah, I think that, definitely I used to travel for work a lot, and I know that for as much as I loved it, at the same time, every once in a while it's nice to sleep in your own bed and to have that
Yes.
certainty that you knew that, okay, I know where I'm going to be tomorrow, and I know, my life is not on sort of a holding pattern of sorts, right? Because
Yeah.
you're going to be mobile. You're not going to be there for the long run. Now, where in South America did you go?
Oh, okay. So we started with let me guess. I was in Colombia
Hmm.
for 2 months in two different cities. We were in Argentina, also in Peru. Um, where else? And then you could do your own trips. I traveled to Brazil and Bolivia. I did
Nice.
Carnival.
You
I think
did
it was
it
my 39th.
all. Ooh,
Yeah, yeah.
fun.
39th or 40th birthday on in Brazil in Carnival.
Hmm.
And it was amazing. So much energy, so many good-looking men, but not the kind of men you'd want to probably
Yep.
settle down with. And Bolivia was incredible. The salt flats, I was there at the right time. It was super
Wow.
cheap. And then not South America, but I lived in also Mexico, and
Okay.
just really picked up. Well, actually, didn't pick up as much Spanish as I wanted, but I did end up going and living in Spain, and that's kind of where my next story happens.
Ooh, well, again, Spain is a very magical country in my belief, and the one thing that you mentioned, and I think that for us who are starting a new chapter in love, right, at some point, specifically for of not Generation Z, Gen Z, it's a very different place, but I get the numbers game, and I think that that's a lot of what people tend to believe, and
Yeah.
yet it may not necessarily be that. One of the things that I know when I knew my husband before I've known him for many years, and then we married other people, and then here we are together now.
Oh,
But I think of all of the different qualities and things that I wanted in a spouse, and even the things that I wasn't sure what that would look like, and that my first husband was not a fit. I was so incredibly, relieved or thankful that I found that. But I think that I had to be very clear on what I needed, what
yes.
I wanted, and what I didn't want and need. And walk me through your story of what happened in Spain. And I'd love for you to share with the listeners, because this is a little bit of what you help individuals with now.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next part of my journey really was listening to my intuition. After the 12-month trip around the world, I came back to Sydney and I was like, okay, now what? What do I do now? And I heard from a friend from the program saying Barcelona had visas for digital nomads, which meant you
Hmm.
could have a mobile business, a remote working business. And I thought, okay, that sounds
Okay.
good.
Hmm.
Applied for it, bought my ticket, and then realized it was a much longer process. And I thought, oh crap, I'm not going to make my flight. So it ended up being like a 6-month process. So you'll start to, get familiar with the country's bureaucratic process.
Mm.
And it was like, oh, okay, this is the first taste of it.
Yeah.
Took about 6 months to get it approved. It was a visa for a year. And then it was like, I was already in Sydney and I was like, hey, I've started my life again. I'm making a great community. I've got great new single friends and I'm having a great time. I was Latin dancing. I was loving life. And then I thought, should I still go? And then, well, intuition said, yeah, go. So I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
So, I left before my birthday in the 2019, just before COVID.
Hmm.
Who knew that was coming, right?
Yeah.
And
Nobody knew.
nope. So I went there and I also was kind of going through a career change as well because I was working in manufacturing for 18 years and it felt very repetitive. And also, I was creating landfill. I was creating fast consumer goods.
Okay.
Although it was fun at the time, and that was my career as someone who'd love to fix things, create
Hmm.
solutions. And I thought it was kind of just a real sea change at that point, moving overseas. And then, we'd had COVID, lockdown. It was quite severe. I was actually dating a Spanish guy, and he was really lovely. He was also
Hmm.
an artist, so that's something people don't know about me as well. I'm a portrait painter, and he was very attractive, and we got along fine. But
Hmm.
I knew that we weren't meant to be together forever.
Hmm.
But he invited me to be with him during the COVID, and it was great. But it was a real taste and glimpse of what life would be like. And again, it
Mm.
was repeating my patterns with my ex-husband.
Right.
He was a lot less ambitious than me. He even said that. He even said,
Wow.
you're more ambitious and you need to go and do these things. And all while doing this in Spanish, and my Spanish wasn't that great at that
That's
point.
a lot of self-awareness in his part, by the way, Michelle, because I think that
100%.
sometimes we're afraid of letting the person go. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah, I guess that helped a little bit because I guess I'm a little bit avoidant, so I'll kind of run away if I need to, if things don't suit me. So, but it was more like a, knowing between both of us.
Hmm.
So we let each other go, and I started working with a life coach. I said, okay, 5 years being single, this is enough. I really need to pivot. I need to change. I need to do
Hmm.
something. And I'd already started doing personal growth a little back in my career as I'd had businesses, and I was feeling like, I was feeling very trapped in my business. So I started doing personal growth. Didn't realize that I am my business. And if I don't grow, the business doesn't
The
grow.
business doesn't grow. Mm.
Right. So it was coming back into personal growth and really understanding there was something bigger working in the background. And it wasn't just about the external. The more you do doesn't mean the
Yeah.
better results you get. No,
Mm.
that's just the definition of insanity, isn't it? Albert
Absolutely.
Einstein.
Absolutely. Mm. Yeah.
Keep doing more of the same thing, expecting
Hmm.
different results.
Yeah.
So was working with a life coach, listening to a lot of business podcasts, a lot of spirituality podcasts, and got a huge breakthrough when one mentor, his name's David Nagel, really great podcast.
Hmm.
He said, if you're not getting the results that you want, you're resisting something.
Mm. Wow.
And that was a huge epiphany because I was like,
Hmm.
huh. So I just went home that night and started journaling about that.
Hmm.
And what came out of that was like, whoa, that my conscious mind would never have connected that part. But it wasn't until I dug into my subconscious and went like,
Hmm.
oh, that's the program that's been
Wow.
running me in my
Hmm.
love life and probably in my entire life. So after having that breakthrough and doing some manifestation work, and it was all a bit woo woo, and I was never somebody who was like super fluffy and like let's just put I
Right.
love crystals and stuff, but I'm like no, let's just like wish on crystals all the time and do affirmations,
Right.
and I like to get results and make sure it's a very direct, no fluff process. And I started, getting into meditation and which I still find really tough. Like I'm no
Yeah.
expert at that. But doing all that real inner work, not
Hmm.
just, oh, I'm going on a retreat and I'm doing yoga, that's my inner work.
Yeah.
That is actually not the inner work, right? You know this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're nodding like
No,
you
no,
know,
absolutely.
right? And then my soulmate came within a couple of months.
Wow.
So it can happen so quickly.
Hmm.
There's a belief that anything worthy, like your career, your partner,
Hmm.
anything, is supposed to be hard. Anything
Yeah.
of value
Yeah.
needs to be hard work. And it really, really does not need to be. And what you
Hmm.
mentioned before, Julie, about the clarity, 100%. You
Hmm.
think you have clarity, but you have the clarity of somebody with this kind of social subconscious programming. Once you change your subconscious
Hmm.
programming, your belief systems, your behavior starts to change, and then your clarity also changes.
Yeah.
And it becomes a much, much more authentic clarity, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Oh, I hear you. So, for someone that's listening and maybe they're not clear and they haven't been through this, tell me a little bit about how that does, right? How do you get that clarity and how do you change the subconscious programming? Because,
Mhm.
that's definitely in the personal development space, we hear it all the time. But people who are not in that space, and this may be a new concept to them, let's walk them through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what gave me even more clarity on the process itself, because I actually did it, but I didn't know
Hmm.
what it was actually doing. I
Mm,
read a book by Dr. Bruce Lipton.
okay.
He's sadly passed away now, but he has this incredible book called The Biology of Belief.
I've never
I
heard
heard
of
it.
this book.
Yeah, I actually heard
I'm going
my
to write it
business
down.
mentor. Yeah, definitely. It's eye-opening. The business mentor recommended. I'm like, oh, I love reading. Actually, the way I met my partner Raf was actually by hosting a book club on personal growth and spirituality. So you'd bring in a book
Really?
that you'd love. So I was very used to recommending books because I just
Hmm.
loved, this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And the book, the first half is a little bit dry because it's very scientific. Here's a scientist.
Okay.
And the second half really blows your mind because it's really telling you the scientific proof that
Hmm.
your beliefs are really embedded in the cells. He's a cell biologist,
Okay.
and it could even become generational in your DNA,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right? But
Yeah.
your beliefs actually vibrate within you and
Hmm.
create
Yeah.
your entire external world. So, just to break it down on a simple level, it's kind of like everything is energy, physical.
Hmm.
It's been proven that physical objects seem
Hmm.
like hard and real and firm
Yeah.
because they're vibrating at a different frequency and they're vibrating close
Right.
together. And air is much more, it's gaseous, it's like much more spread apart. So our thoughts are actually in energy as well. And so, not to go too woo woo, but, some people have, and we can all do this, develop your psychic, your
Hmm.
mental capacity in a way that you can start to influence the world around you. I
Yeah.
mean, it's as simple as I want a tub of ice cream. And then you take the action, you get in your car, you go to the shop and you go and get it, right? That's
Hmm.
actually influencing reality. You
Right.
have taken actions to get it. And then when you get on a higher level, you're like, I want the ice cream to come to me.
Hmm.
And then maybe you're walking down the street and someone's like, hey, I just bought this ice cream and I don't want it anymore. Would you like it? And this happens actually all the time. Like, Julie,
Absolutely.
do you remember a time where you've manifested a coffee or someone's
Oh,
done something nice for
I will
you?
tell you what I used to when I started really exploring this for myself. I lived in New York City at the time, and I worked in New Jersey and then in Brooklyn, but I drove. I had my car, and I lived in a very popular West Side, the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and
Wow,
it
nice.
was very challenging at times to find parking. And one
Oh,
of the things
yes.
I decided, because obviously I didn't pay for parking, and I said, I'm just going to manifest the spots. And
Yes.
I, I would go down the street and say, all it takes is one spot. And then I, it
100%.
would be there. But we are conditioned to have that negative bias and look at what we don't have or how we will never get that, right? That's the
Yeah.
internal programming that we have that says, "Oh, I could never have that," or "That can never happen," or "It's terrible." If I would have gone about, I think, for many years thinking I could never find a spot. I could never, it's going to be very hard to drive in
Yeah. That's what you
Manhattan.
get.
Then
Yep.
that's what you get.
Yeah, 100%. Because what you just spoke about, the conditioning, that's all that subconscious programming that you had as a kid. Like, not blaming your parents or anything, but how many times was it like, no, Julie, you can't have that candy bar. No, we can't get that because we can't afford it. Oh, no, that's too expensive. Or no, you can't. Like, you have so many of these no, you can'ts when you're growing up. Your teacher saying,
Yeah.
no, you can't
Yeah.
go to the bathroom until recess. That's something that happened
Yeah.
to me. It's like, I literally peed my pants as a 6-year-old because I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom. It's like, our recess was finished. And it's like, I'm 6. I didn't know that I had to go at
Yeah.
that point in time, right? So it's all these things that, if you think back of those traumatic events,
Yeah.
that's the thing that's been shaping your whole existence till now.
Absolutely. We've been told no. We've been told you can't do it. You can't have it. And many women, I think, in particular, because we're living in this patriarchal world, they listen and then they internalize it and they believe it. And this is
Yes.
why I feel so important to be able to talk about the stories and you don't have to, categorize yourself as a feminist, but you can categorize as someone that deserves, that desires. And
Yeah.
if you tell yourself, if you decide it can't work for you, it will.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely what you said before about the
Mhm.
clarity,
Yeah.
and that clarity needs to be authentically aligned. And
Yeah.
that's the missing piece as well, because a lot of women feel like they're clear about, yes, I want a man who's got a good income and he's
Hmm.
kind and he's there for me. And those are all great things, but they're almost
Hmm.
even a bit surface level.
Yeah.
Because I think if you truly got clear, and you're a ambitious career woman, you've got big things to achieve,
That's
you'd also
right.
want your partner to be growing with you. Because that's what
Yeah.
happened to me as well. It's like I have a great partner, but
Yeah.
I want him along with me and I want us to grow together. And when I got clear about that part of my wish list, my manifestation list, and by the way, manifest is not super fluffy because it actually just means to become real.
Right.
What you
Yeah.
put out there will manifest, will become real, or will
Hmm.
happen. So to take that, the fluffiness out of that.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much like when I really understood my own values, what my boundaries were, what I wanted our life to look like.
Right.
Those are all steps of the process as well. And I knew, I could really literally visualize, oh, I see us, taking flights together. We're traveling, we're doing workshops together, we're, working on our businesses side by side, and we're, have a home in Europe and we have a home in Sydney where I'm from. And, that kind of life doesn't fit everyone. And a
Hmm.
really cool another book is the 10x is easier
Oh, I
than
love
2x
that. Yeah.
concept.
Yep.
Do you
I
love it?
love it.
Ah, I
Yeah.
love it.
I love it. That's
Oh
one of my
man, oh
favorite
man.
ones. Yeah.
Right, Dan Sullivan and
Hmm.
Benjamin
Yep.
Hardy.
Yeah. I've read all of their collaboration books
Yeah, me too, me
because
too.
they really do break them down in a way that it's so easily to understand and then to apply because, reading and having the content and consuming content is great. Practicing it and actually living it is better.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's that 10x concept you need to find in a partner as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because the 2x way, it's like you have too much choice.
Hmm.
That's what they're saying. Like the
Right.
10x is actually easier because if you only go for the highest level and
Hmm.
there's only a few avenues
That's
towards
right.
that.
Not a lot of
But if you
choices.
right, and if you go the 2x, yes, you could go on dating apps and there's thousands of guys out there. But are they going to actually achieve what you want? Right.
Right.
So, going for that 10x, that high level guy, there's only a few ways to get there. And that's through your personal growth and being
Yeah.
authentic to your soul purpose. Only
Mm.
those two things.
So glad
And
that you're
when
talking
you're
about this. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and the soul purpose is, and your life purpose, when they're aligned and you're following that, your soulmate will actually be there on that path waiting for you because
Yeah.
he's on his soul journey and you've had a pact together that says, hey, I'll see you in this lifetime. We're going to go do XYZ. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, yeah, that I remember that
Yeah.
now. And then you'll grow together. And I feel like that's the best kind of relationship.
Absolutely. I love that. Now you're teaching other women how to be able to do this and you work with high achieving women. Tell me a little bit more about the work that you do and what can people expect? And because this may not be something that everybody is looking for, but people may not realize that this is something that they can have the support from someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if we're taking it back to the 10x concept,
Hmm.
that's where I help our high achieving women to do that because not every guy is going to be right for you. As we
Hmm.
know in
Yeah.
general anyway,
Yeah.
but for our high achieving women, even less,
Yeah.
even a smaller pool, right? So
Hmm.
you don't want to go out exposing yourself on apps, being vulnerable to people who are not on
Yeah.
your level or not going to be worth your time. And so you need to be highly specifically targeted. It's
Hmm.
like marketing, right?
Yeah.
That we need to attract our ideal customer or
Hmm.
our,
Yeah. Or
ideal
ideal
partner,
partner. Yeah.
right? And I've identified pretty much a three-step process, which is firstly to release. So that
Hmm.
old subconscious programming that's really blocking you. So a lot of people
Yeah.
say, oh, I have these blocks. So that is really what we need to do first, because a lot of people go straight to the second step, which is rewrite. And that's
Oh,
all
yeah.
about the affirmations and like
Hmm.
upgrading your computer software.
That's right.
And they go straight to that. But you've still got Microsoft version
Hmm.
0.1 and you're trying to skip to version 5,
Yeah,
right? So we've got to
and
get,
the it doesn't work like that. And I think that this is so key that you talked about how those mental blocks, right? Really being able to identify them and really begin your work there, right? And how to shift. It doesn't matter what you try to put in because the soil is not very fertile where you're doing that.
100%. I love how you use the gardening terminology. I use that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, hey, when we're in childhood, we planted certain types of seeds, maybe for flowers.
Yeah.
Those are the seeds that our parents knew about, and they're
Hmm.
like, here, these are the flower seeds. So you're like, cool, I'm absorbing the flower seeds. Then when
Hmm.
you get to adulthood, you're like, oh, I'm just getting flower seeds, kind of relationships all the
Yeah.
time. How do I change that? Oh, I'll just go date more men. And then you're like, oh, I just keep getting these kind of same relationships. So
Right.
you got to go back and like,
Hmm.
remove those, clear
Yeah.
that
That's right. You
land.
you have
And
weeds in your garden. You have
we
to
have the
remove
weeds now.
those. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And then we
Absolutely.
talk about the fertile soil. And so we
Hmm.
got to kind of nourish that a bit. And that's part of that release part as well.
Hmm.
And then you've got to go and plant new seeds. That's the rewrite,
Amazing.
the second
Yeah.
step,
And that
right?
is the
And
rewrite.
then yeah, and that's getting clarity on the new kind of seeds that you want. And I guess a lot of the breakthroughs from my clients have been like the fear of success.
Mm.
So a lot of people will say, I feel failure, and then just procrastinate and never get started, right?
Right.
But for a high achieving woman, you know
Hmm.
you're going to achieve anything you put your mind to.
Right. Right.
So what blocks you really is potentially going into a new relationship that looks like your old relationship that you just
Right.
left.
Yeah.
So if that
Absolutely.
reprogramming isn't done first, you're going to constantly sabotage yourself
Yeah.
because
And,
you
and,
can get
and
what
you're
you
not
want.
going to achieve what you're looking for and you're not going to find the satisfaction because you're replaying and then you're in essence proving your thought pattern right.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're always right.
And you're always
100%.
right.
You're always right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People need to really be able to, in order to find that partner, for instance, know that you have to be aligned with them in your vision, your life
Yes.
goals, and also how you prioritize going about them. And I think that this is something that in many relationships you don't have that common goal. You don't have the common vision. And maybe one person is not on the same page like you were in your first marriage.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that needs to be looked at first because
Hmm.
we use our values to find our careers.
Hmm.
Like that's the reason why I left and changed industries and pivoted because manufacturing didn't align with my values of environmentalism,
Hmm. Yeah.
waste, you know, it just did not align anymore. And I felt like I'm
Hmm.
I'm putting my time in the wrong place. And so
Hmm.
coaching and personal growth really fit me. And a lot of it becomes very spiritual. And that's one
Yeah.
of my, core values too.
Yeah.
So when you live your life according to your core values, you can really live a very authentic life.
Hmm. And identifying the core values is very key because I think that again we're programmed with somebody else's values and we're
100%.
trying to live in and really find the thing that we want, but yet we're doing it with somebody else's list or somebody else's
Yeah.
needs. And that really kind of derails us. Now, you have a podcast in addition to the coaching program that you do, and you also have a book. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the podcast is called Love, Life, and Energy. So it's talking about all the cool things that I
Yeah.
love, which is, about universal law. I really feel like when we master universal law, that's what we came here to do in
Mm.
this lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not for everyone. Everyone's still along their path and their journey. So I love talking about, energy, how you can actually bend it to your will to make your life work better.
Hmm.
Talk about love and relationships. I have quite a few guests who speak about women's health and money as well.
Hmm.
So it's really for a high achieving woman to go and find a resource of
Yeah.
all the cool stuff that
That's
is
so
going to bring
good.
it to the next level.
Yeah, so, so good. And I think that, again, the more that we seek to move to the next level for ourselves, we need to have the right resources and be in the
Yes.
spaces, because I think that a lot of times too, this is the other, forget the partner piece, but if you're not working with a coach, if you're not in the space where like-minded women are supporting you, then it becomes very difficult to do that work because the
Yes.
people that you may be with are holding you back.
100%. I think that's part of a massive part of the journey as well, your community. You will
Hmm.
lose friends as you
Oh,
grow.
100%.
This is a given. And if you're afraid of that, then you won't be able to, change or grow. And I always say friends for a season, friends for a reason, and friends for life.
Hmm.
And not every friend is going to be with you forever.
Yeah.
Not every partner is going to be with you forever. And that's okay. And you know, if we're holding on to too much, that's stagnation. And in Chinese medicine, as I studied it, that means death.
Yeah.
Stagnation, the non-moving,
Hmm.
is a surefire way to slowly, you
Yeah.
know, go
That's
back to the
exactly what I
earth.
tell people about their business when I'm working with my clients. And I talk about you have to grow your email list. You have to grow your
Mm-hmm.
community. If you're not growing that, you're really stagnant. And
Yeah.
that's not really a fun place to be. And there's no living anything that can infuse the things that you need. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. I love that example. So much that we can unpack. We could be here for days because you are just amazing. You do a lot of really great
Thank
work.
you.
Tell me, how do people connect with you? What are the types of ways in which people can work with you?
Definitely. So I have a free masterclass. It's brand new. Just launching it today, actually.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank
Yay,
you. So,
Michelle.
yeah, hey. So, you can go and watch that for free. It's only 20 minutes. So I know
Okay,
that we're busy, so it's not an hour.
that's
And
awesome.
you can definitely go check that out. I'll tell you my three-step process of how we can break it down
Hmm.
very quickly and easily. I've removed all the fluff. And you can also book a call with me, and I can
Okay.
see if, working together is the right fit. I have a coaching program, and you mentioned my book as well, so that's another way you can learn about my processes. And I'm definitely on Instagram, and I have website and LinkedIn, so
That's
many
right. And
ways.
we're going to have all the show notes with this wealth of information. And Michelle's book is How to Stop Dating and be in an effortless, committed relationship that supports your growth and career. I will definitely have all the show notes with this wealth of information. Michelle, one of the things that I aim to do, as I mentioned earlier, is I want to go ahead and give people very tangible takeaways. I don't want people to be passive consumers of information. What is one takeaway? So if there's a high achieving woman that is listening to us and this conversation sort of touched a nerve, or they're in a place in which they're seeking already, what do you recommend is a good thing that they can do to continue in this journey?
I think for a high achieving woman, someone who's really used to doing things and go getting, it's just to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably going to be really challenging for you because you're
It's
used to that
hard. You're used to
momentum,
going.
right? And I feel like the more dating I was doing, it was firstly depleting my energy, making me doubt myself, and then really wondering if this was really going to happen. So it does maybe more harm than good. So stop and look into the stillness for intuitive guidance.
Mm.
So I know that sounds tough and not the practical advice that people might
No,
want,
I
as
love that. I
in
think
go
that
to
that's
this dating
one of the
app.
biggest pieces of advice that people don't heed. And that really is so crucial to be able to take a moment, especially in a world that is very loud, in a world that, you're competing, your voice is competing with everybody else's voice. But if you stop,
Mm,
you're able to take a step back, you will start to learn to listen to yourself, and that will
yeah,
help you go in the path that you want.
yeah,
Excellent
and that
advice.
even thank you. And that even means that even if you're not dating because you don't have time,
Hmm.
but you're constantly working and you're constantly in the go and your
Hmm.
calendar is chock full and you don't even have a moment to yourself, That's really all it means. Stop and have a moment for
Yeah.
yourself. And if meditating is hard, go for a bushwalk or get into
Hmm.
nature. Go to the beach and sit on your own, and don't book out your calendar so full that you're entertaining everyone else
Hmm.
other
Yeah.
than your higher power. Like book a time for your higher power and
That's
your
right.
your spirit guides to have a chat with you,
To have a
have a
chat.
chat together. Yeah,
So
yeah,
good,
definitely.
so good. My friends, I'm so excited that you're tuning in, and I'm so excited that I've been able to have this conversation with Michelle because she is speaking so many truths that will definitely make a shift and can impact your life in the way that you are desiring it for change and for shift. And Michelle, again, I'm so grateful that you're here, and I can't wait to see what amazing things come by the listeners hearing you and maybe connecting with you, getting the book, listening to the podcast. Again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
No, amazing. My friends, go connect with Michelle. And as you're finding that stillness in your life, I would love for you to go to Instagram and send her a DM and tell her, hey, I found my solitude. This is what I did. I went on a bushwalk or I sat down in stillness for a little bit. She's going to enjoy hearing that. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Michelle. And my friends, everybody, don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Bye, Michelle.
Thank you.